This is David Smoak's statewide Texas high school football podcast on 365 Sports and powered by Smoaky.com and sponsored by Peter Chevrolet in Longview, an innovative third-generation family dealership dedicated to ethics, integrity, and the community, while creating friendly, intelligent, and transparent environment to assist with any automotive need, large or small.
McNair in the gun with under 2 minutes left, down 44-0, trying to get a score. English right side, and he will score. Touchdown, the senior, Raul English from 2 yards out.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. We are an insurance provider built by Texans for Texans. We've been protecting families in our great state since 1952. Sturdy Steel. We build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide. Batteries Plus. We have the person who can fix what you need with expert knowledge on batteries and have you on your way and good to go in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, with locations throughout the Southwest, serving up tasty food since 1989, including off I-35 in Waco. Next in line, Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it with 5 locations in the Waco area. Bird Culchin Ford on the Loop and Highway 6 in Waco. And Waco's trusted Ford dealer since 1936. And customers know they can expect us to be fair, honest, affordable, and always committed to the tradition of quality service.
We're back. It is 2025 and on the eve of the Texas high school football season, including openers on Thursday of this week all the way through the weekend, and some great games like you would expect. And it's the time where a loss is, you don't want to lose. It's a non-district game, though. Some schools have 2 or 3 non-district games. Some might have as many as maybe 5 or so. But it is time when you see great matchups, and you'll see some blowouts too. And it's the start of the season, and every year, when the calendar starts to flip, July and then to August, they have the coaches' school in July. I'm like, man, this is another year. For me, I started covering high school football in Texas, covering it as a media member in November of 1981 at KTRE Television in Lufkin, Nacogdoches. My first game I ever went out and covered, shot, and reported on was the Lufkin-Nacogdoches game, and Lufkin dominates that rivalry. And I got a call from Parade Magazine. This is back when there was no cell phone, there was no email, so they actually called like a landline, right? You ever know what some of you may not know what that is, but I got a call, and they asked if I would shoot video of then All-State and All-American TJ Turner, who went on to play at the University of Houston and Miami Dolphins. We lost him a few years ago, and I did. And he was named the Parade All-American Player of the Year. And that was my first ever assignment. I'm like, wow. And then, of course, moving throughout the time of KTRE and Lufkin, Nacogdoches, if you don't mind, just a couple of things. And then Channel 7, KLTV in Tyler, worked for 3 different places there as far as in television, and then got to a point where I started doing editorials, which I enjoyed, and the talk show that started at KTBB Radio in 1990 that really launched me into a different level, not me into a different level of recognition, but it just changed my career. And of course, now I've been in Waco the last 15 years, and we're on 365 Sports for the last 5+ years with a podcast. High school broadcast. I've done every team you could imagine, probably in East Texas. Robert E. Lee and Tyler for the longest time, now Legacy. Did state championship game for them when they won it. John Tyler when Alvin Wilson won it in 94, along with a lot of other schools around that area. Chapel Hill, White House, Brownsboro, ARP, name them. I've done games for them. And it's been great. When I moved to Waco in 2010, I was able to do the first year I was there. Mart beat Colthwaite for a state championship and broadcast that game with Paul Catalina, who's been with me longer than he wants to admit. But I start all that out with this. I have met some amazing people along the way, some human interest stories, including the ball boy at Marshall High in 1988, Jamie Sexton, who was battling leukemia. You know who Odell Beckham Jr., he just retired from LSU. His dad Odell Beckham was a star running back at Marshall High School that played into the semifinals in 1988, lost that game to Carter in that famous game. Jesse Armstead caught a little pop pass. But I covered Odell Beckham. And the reason I bring him up was Jamie Sexton was the ball boy at Marshall High. I've been given a tip about him. He was battling leukemia and was losing the battle. That year, I went over, Dennis Parker, the head coach at the time, who turned Marshall around. I went over and did by myself with a camera and just looking at these young football players, these star football players who were in Jamie's living room watching television. He was on a mattress and they were all around him. I tried to explain this during the Hall of Fame induction ceremony back in May. I didn't do a very good job. But you saw like Odell Beckham, and he was like laying down next to Jamie, and you just the love and affection, what he meant, what they meant to him, but 10 million times more what he meant to them in that community. He passed away soon after that semifinals loss to Dallas Carter in 1988. So I've been fortunate, lucky as hell, honestly, to be able to cover some of the greatest football players ever. But I also have gotten to know some phenomenal coaches. Dennis Alexander, Hall of Famer from Dangerfield. Also, John Outlaw, who passed away back during the fall during Katrina. The great coach at Lufkin. Along the way, Mike Owens at Lee. I could go on and on. Danny Long, who was at Jacksonville and elsewhere. Some unbelievable names. Some unbelievable coaches during my career, and I can't name them all. Jack Murphy at Gladewater. And I almost hate that I'm bringing Dickie Meeks, who won state championships at Chapel Hill, Henderson. And I bring him up because he came out of Louisiana, had been successful there. Comes to Chapel Hill in 1989. They end up winning the state championship, beating Westlake in a championship game. He then goes on to Mount Vernon. He ended up winning a state title at Henderson. I bring him up because he came in for a wave of coaches from Louisiana. And that included as well Mike Valerie, who won a state championship at Kilgore. It also included Pat Collins, who came in and was a strong personality and came into Longview when they were starting to fade a little bit. And he had a guy on his staff named John King, along with many others. John Barry and a lot of coaches from Louisiana, and did well, had to take a program over. Robert Birrow had taken him to the state championship in 97. Doug Cox was a longtime successful coach prior to that. First coach I hired when I moved to Tyler in 1984, but John King was on that staff. Some of us received a text personally from John earlier this week, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. It was a horrible moment, and then again, it was like it was John King. He sent a text to us, Bill Coates, who's in Tyler, Brian Houston in Tyler, and a few others, Jack Stallard in Longview, telling us that he had gone and had a diagnosis, and he had throat and tongue cancer. It hit me like, I can't even, I'm like, what? He is one of the funniest and one of the toughest people you will ever know. And I mean a heart bigger than this earth. His son Haynes is the starting quarterback at Georgia Tech. Remember, won a state championship with him his junior year at Longview. First time they'd won a state championship since 1937. They're so tired of hearing 1937. John King has been the president of the Texas High School Coaches Association, name it. So this was on that day. Jack Stallard, who's a great friend in the media, put this up. Prayers to Longview football coach John King. He's also the AD. Told me he intends to coach through a diagnosis of mouth cancer. We'll get a procedure done as soon as possible. That's what doctors have told him. Might be this week, but will be soon. Longview opens up the Lobos against their long time and great rivalry in the Lufkin Panthers. And then Longview assistant coach, he's also been forever on that staff for 40 years or so, I believe, at Longview. Back in the early 80s when I started covering that area, Oscar Wilson, fantastic guy. He will be their interim head coach. I sent a note to Coach King later on that evening. I had to. We're going to have Scott Surratt, the head coach at Carthage, on a little bit later on today. And we talk about the impact of John King on his career and on his friendship with him and so much more. So that story just shook up Texas high school football. We are thinking about you, Coach King, and we love you. Absolutely a teddy bear of a man, but he would never want anyone to know that because he's also tough as nails, and Longview has always played that way. Meanwhile, I've known Matthew Prosser dating back to when I mentioned my career beginning in the 80s. He was at Overton High School, and I didn't know this. You know, you cover throughout your career, television, newspaper, now websites and blogs, etc., podcasts. You never know when you're covering somebody, will they ever remember it? Not that they should, but Matthew sent me the nicest letter I think I've ever received right on the debut, right before the eve of the Texas High School Football Coaches Association, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame banquet in May earlier this year that I didn't even realize. I did a story about the Overton Mustangs, and he was on that team. And he said that I will never he said, I wish I would have had a copy of the letter today, what it meant to him. I tried my job. I hope I did it right. My mission statement early on in my career at a place that did not have big schools, like it did not have UT or A&M or anyone else in the Southwest Conference back in the day. Stephen F. Austin, my alma mater, was a biggest school that was. There were others as well, but I wanted to make the high schools, whether a small six-man school like Oakwood or Apple Springs, to the biggest schools in the area and make them feel or help them feel like they were a part of something big. And that was always my role, and eventually the website of Smoaky.com. Here is Matthew Prosser. I covered him at Overton High School, and he sent me the nicest letter earlier this year. John King is one of the consummate professionals in the business. As a colleague at Longview ISD, there is so much he does behind the scenes that has nothing to do with X's and O's or wins and losses. He is an absolute giant, and we're all praying for him and his wife, Jody. So thank you, Matthew, for that. He's a part of Longview ISD. So if you don't mind, I hope that, Garrett, you guys don't mind. I have a P.O. box where I get mail for promotion, a foundation I have to honor high school student athletes every year in May. And it's 20 student athletes from about an hour and a half every direction, straight A's, valedictorians. They have to be involved in athletics. They don't have to be a valedictorian, just the kids next door, the boys and the girls that you want your children to marry, the ones that really are the light when they walk in the door at schools every day. So I have a P.O. box, and I get their nominations and a lot of times emails too. But I haven't been to that P.O. box in 2 or 3 months. I went by there today because I had to drop off some mail and bought some stamps, kind of like the good old days, right? But I do have a P.O. box. I said, what the heck? Usually there's nothing but junk mail, unless I'm getting those nominations from the high school kids. And I went in there, and there was this big envelope. And Garrett, I don't know if you see that or not.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
I haven't even shown you this yet. I go, well, this is interesting. It was a big envelope. It was from Brian Hughes, the Texas Senate, Brian Hughes. And I started reading this. I said, is this political mail? I didn't know. And it is a note to me that the Senate resolution of 594 passed in honor of an outstanding achievement. Thank you for making East Texas proud. And then there was this as well, the letter, Senate resolution, and at the end, also the stamp of approval and the signatures. I got to tell you, man.
That's awesome, Smoky.
Oh, my God. I hope you don't mind me sharing with you that. I just found that out like 30 minutes ago. And I want to thank everybody for making so many of us feel amazing. Patrick Mahomes played at White House, Texas Tech, and now, of course, we know multi-Super Bowl champion. Robert Griffin III, Copper's Cove, Baylor, and then the NFL, now about to have a broadcast Friday night in Waco with Auburn and Baylor for Fox Sports' debut there. Jeff Traylor, UTSA, Gilmer High School, Brad Gable from Cuero, the family of Curtis Barbay from Newton High School, Pat Thomas, who was at Plano, Gary Keithley at Alvin, John Norman, who played at Midland Lee. All of them were honored. I was a part of it, and I got to tell you, that is hard to explain unless you were there. And even then, I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And it's something that there's so many others in my profession, the media profession, who honestly we wish could, one day be a part of being honored by the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. Let's get some historical notes here. All-time most state championship wins in Texas high school football history, Aledo with 12. Carthage, the asterisk next to Carthage and Salina, they won it last year. 10 for Carthage. We'll have more on that with Scott Surratt. Salina and Katy, 9. Then you have Mart, South Lake Carroll. Then there's a list of 7, Abilene, Brownwood, Plano, and 6 teams have 6 state championships, including, Breckenridge back in the day, Converse, Judson, Dangerfield, Highland Park, Lake Travis, Odessa, Permian, Stephenville, Old Waco High, and then also Wichita Falls. I said there's 9 with 6 state championships. A couple of other nuggets. Most playoff appearances as we start the year. Highland Park, 66. Most consecutive state titles. Yep, Lake Travis for 7. They had 5 in a row from 2007 to 2011. Most state championship game appearances. Katy and Mart, 15. 15 of those. And then Refugio with the most playoff wins, 145. They had a couple last year to add to that to make it 145, lost to Ganado in the 3rd round. So those are some historical notes on what we have as we are starting 2025 high school football season. Now, I saw this, and this is a random tweet. Here's what you will hear in the stands during a high school football game. Get him. Make a play. Catch the ball. Come on, coach. Stop running up the middle. Come on, ref. Block somebody. Throw the ball and run faster, and that's holding. Take that to your first game and put the notches next to each one of them as you watch that game in the stands. So there we are with a few notes. We'll do that every week, some historical nuggets, an interview with the coach. We'll have Scott Surratt in a minute, and then the games of the week we'll have to close out today's show. Garrett Ross, thank you so much for what you do. And, of course, our sponsors. We're not done. 10-time state championship football coach Scott Surratt from Carthage is next. This is the Texas High School Football Statewide Podcast.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosing and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries. Celebrating over 2 decades of service to Central Texas, they tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. And when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday morning for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Every year, and we have to start if we can. Not every year do we start with a multi-time state championship coach and now 10-time state championship coach, Scott Surratt. I knew you when you were like 15 or 16, and now here you are with all these titles. Scott, what drives you? What drives you to be who you have been as successful as a football coach and as everything else too?
Just competition, really, Smoky. I love to compete against other coaches as a coach, and obviously getting our players to compete at a high level. But I believe it's I didn't been so competitive my whole life. My dad was so competitive, my high school head coach, and my whole family, my wife, daughter, son, were just so competitive. But probably the most competitive of all of them was my mom, and it just that's just the way we lived is competing. And I had 2 older brothers that always beat up on me and always beat me in things, and maybe made me better because of it.
I remember one time you said something about your dad refused to hear about failure or refused to failure. Kind of explain that a little bit and how that got into your system pretty quickly. When
I got inducted, I was lucky to get inducted in the Hall of Honor at ETBU, and in my speech I was telling the story, and I also told it at his funeral. And I went like 7 of 8 at Louisiana Tech with a couple home runs, and when David Segui and those guys were there, and they ranked the top 10, and we beat them one game, split the other one, and he wanted to know what happened on that one. When I called him, he was not there. It was at Louisiana Tech, and I popped up to center field, and he said, "Well, you just didn't see that, see that at bat, or wasn't seeing the ball, or whatever." And I just, he didn't understand failure, and so that's the reason, I consider myself as a perfectionist. It drives me crazy, for a lineman to take a wrong step, or a receiver to line up wrong, or a quarterback make a bad read, or whatever. It just so I know where I got it.
When did you realize, and you were an athlete, obviously, like you said, even back in the day, and when did you realize you had a gift of understanding offense? Not just, I know you understand both sides of the ball, special teams, but when did you feel like, man, I think I could get this play calling or quarterback play? When did you know you knew about you?
Well, I knew I wanted to do this in my senior year at Lennon Kildare, when we were really the first one in the area to open up in the gun my senior year and throw it just about every snap, throwing it 35 times a game. Toward the end, because we wasn't very good early with me at a fullback or halfback, and I moved to quarterback, and we come up with a 2-minute system. Me and my best buddy Marty Pate, and we actually used it in the game because nobody did 2-minute back then, and we were down in Pleasant Grove at 19-0, and we did it, and so I kind of thought I could do this at that point at one day. And obviously, everybody chases the wanting to be a professional baseball player, professional athlete, but I knew my limitations, and I knew I wanted to be a head baseball coach at first, but I also was the offensive coordinator at the same time, and I knew that's what I wanted to be, as a head football coach at AD and a play caller.
How much, Scott, when you were growing up and in the time you were growing up, that with Dangerfield, Gladewater, Pittsburgh, Jefferson, just keep on and on and on, and others that were so successful, especially at about the size school that Linden Kildare was, how much did that kind of get into your drive to be and experience that kind of success?
Oh, a lot. Dennis Alexander, watching his success, and then Coach Rodney Russell, my head coach at Linden Kildare, he was unbelievably successful for Linden Kildare, and because we didn't have as many players usually, and but we played harder than everybody else, and that's our main goal is to play harder than everybody else. And I think we gave Dangerfield, believe it or not, they beat us 27-0. That was their second closest game of the year when they only give up 8 points. And to the other one was Carthage, and I believe that's right, maybe a third. But anyway,
it was. Yep.
So, and we all, we beat Jefferson in my senior year, and next year they go 16-0 with pretty much the same players with Kenneth Henderson, their quarterback, and all those great players they had, and so talent was all around us. Atlanta, they won a state championship. Pittsburgh, Dangerfield, Jefferson, and on, and we were right in the middle of it, but we were all out there and always in the middle of the district race, other than when Dangerfield was in it.
I got to tell you that when I first started, when I moved to Longview to cover football in that area for Channel 7 in 84, obviously Longview was always good. Marshall was still a few years from when they had the run with Dennis Parker, et cetera. But I was blown away at going to that first time I went to Dangerfield, 84. They had just gone that best team in the history of ever in 83. And I was just blown away how physical they practiced and all of that. Things have changed. How have they changed to where you have, if anything, changed how you practice?
Yeah, UIL rules, you can't tackle them to the ground anymore. So, but we got to teach tackling, and so we teach to hit, wrap them up, and not drive them to the ground. And do we achieve that? Not going to the ground all the time? No, that's not possible. But you got to practice tackling. Especially correctly, not with your head down and have your eyes up. So you got to practice those kind of things. And we do practice physical. We'd like to practice more physical, but that's just the way it is now. And that's the only way we won games at LK. That's probably the reason I've had about 12 surgeries now is because I was a fullback linebacker and then a quarterback. And, all we did was hit every day.
Yeah.
And, when I was linebacker my junior and senior year, I took Tylenol before practice every day, and because we knew you was going to leave there with a headache. The helmets wasn't as good back then either, Smoky.
No. I was just at Midway High School as I do their games on the radio, and the equipment and what they have now. We had that old, almost basically plastic shell with those hard ear. Well, it was nuts, and I don't even know what they had inside. It was mainly like straps or something like that. And now what they have for safety as well. How much, and the whole time I'm watching you guys last year as you're making that run, obviously that opening first, month, you had some guys in and out. You had the game with Kilgore that was dramatic as you have coming up this week. How much did winning a state championship with Jet, other than the obvious, was that a relief, a joy? Was there a burden? Was there any of that in play or all of it in play?
All above. There's no doubt about it. I had the funnest time of my life coaching him, but it was the most stressful year that I've ever had. Because his junior year, we were really good. Sophomore year, and we had 9 guys that were starting in the spring that got injured, and or we had one with a death and the house fire. So, and he could have been a two-way player for us, and we still should have won it. And that's the thing about it. And then we come back the following year, we didn't have that many injuries his last year until early. And right before we got to play Kilgore, about 4 guys out, and then he had the unfortunate ankle injury right in pregame. Unbelievable. But it was all above, and it was a blast. It was a relief. It's like I've never won one and say, oh, thank goodness that's over.
Right.
Because it was a big burden. It's a lot of pressure when your son's playing number 1. But I always, when we won all these championships, 9 championships with other quarterbacks, and really only one has ever started for us that didn't win a state championship, and he is in the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks to ever play here. And our talent level was a little down, but his pressure, I wanted him to at least leave here as a state champion as a starter. He was on the team as a freshman, played a little bit, but it was his team last year as a quarterback, and to get it done with that, it's a little bit of the pressure off this year until all the injuries we got right now, and I hope that. But luckily, they're not season-ending injuries, but there'll be several won't go this week.
Oh my God. Kilgore, again, no matter who you're playing. Wasn't it the year before, and I don't want to bring it up, but because I remember watching it, the game with Gilmer when you were beaten. Was that play when Jet turned it over?
Yeah.
And how much did that just inspire, drive, and fuel his fire during the offseason?
Well, it fueled him unbelievably. I mean, believe it or not, I mean, he's just like me. He said, a reporter asked him the other day, what's your favorite game to ever play? And he said, Gilmer.
Wow.
And he says, and that's what the reporter said. And he said, wow. And he said, well, it was so competitive. You know, we had to lead them down in 2 minutes, and unfortunate ending, but that was the biggest crowd and unbelievable atmosphere. And I learned so much from that as being a sophomore quarterback. And, you know, and I'm making excuses. I'm not making any excuses, but we were, you know, a lot of guys out, and he almost willed us to a win. It's the worst game we've ever played defensively. But, yeah, that's what his answer was, Gilmer. And I went, dude, you got to say the state championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was my favorite to get the season over with that year, because that means we're the last game, and you're the starting quarterback, and we win it, and that's very special.
You know, there's guys that have gone in NFL. I remember Bobby Bowden had great teams, but they couldn't beat Miami, and they had the field goals they missed, and eventually he broke through. Tom Osborne, as a head coach, had so many close calls. Mac Brown for a while, and a lot of others that, you know, you're knocking on the door. You have success winning a state title, not quite immediately, but pretty close. Did you ever take them for granted? And even with your success, Gilmer in that game, the game against La Vega up in Rockwall or wherever that was, I can't remember, which was devastating. You've had some of those. You could have 13 or 14 of those state titles because you've really most of the time dominated in the state championship game. Well,
you know, the guy that I brought with me here, there was only two left of us, Mike Morgan and Ryan Marion. And I think when we won 9, or I know we won 9, he said, boss, we could have had. He said, can you believe that we won 9 championships? And I said, I can't believe we don't have 12.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just because we really, in the semifinal game, La Vega, they were better than us. There is no doubt. In 2015, they were better than us. Other than that, I don't know if anybody has been, you know, better than us when we got beaten in the semifinal. We're 10-3. And that's kind of hard to swallow. We didn't play very good games, especially against, you know, Bridge City and Gilmer.
Yep.
Those two for sure.
El Campo? Was El Campo like that?
No, I said Bridge City. I meant El Campo.
Yeah.
El Campo, I think we're 28-point favorites, and we felt like we were that much better, but we played a bad game. No, not giving those guys credit because they played great, and they made the plays when it was on the line, and we didn't. And we turned it over a bunch, had a punt block. I mean, a lot of bad things, and you can't have a bad game at that time of year that bad. We have survived some of those because we were so much better, but that's one we didn't.
When I was fortunate and honored back in May, you, of course, come by. You go get yet another state championship ring. I've seen the pictures where you have them up, and I'm fortunate to have been inducted in covering you and so many others along the way. Dennis Alexander, Mike Owens, all these great names, Outlaw. But you know, you have made that. You might as well get an Airbnb in Waco for the High School Hall of Fame to come get your ring. And there will be a day when no doubt you're a part of that. And sometimes they don't vote people in as they're active because they just don't. And that needs to happen. What's that like? And for me, that was awesome because you were there. I didn't get to say much to you. I said hi real quickly, but what's that like knowing that you've been there so many times? You mean, you must, like, do you have a safe for all your championship rings or where are they?
No, they're upstairs in my room. My main room is really turned to Jet's room. He loves to watch the big screen up there and watch football and stuff. And but yeah, they're up there. My wife's done a great job with a cool room upstairs for me.
That's awesome.
You know, I have all the great players I've coached with pictures of those guys going up the stairs. Ryan Mallett and Nathan Batt, a lot of guys going up, and then all the stuff and trophies and then rings up there. It's a pretty cool room.
Kilgore, you mentioned the game last year. You mentioned you try to get through some struggles with injuries, etc. But is there a better way to find out quickly, no matter if you're 100% or not, where you are than facing someone like that? I mean, you're going to know whether you win or not. You know who you are.
Yeah, we wouldn't trade it. We would not trade it. We wish we could play them a couple weeks later, obviously, because I think most of them will be healthy in probably 2-3 weeks. Number one, Jet, he had shoulder surgery 3 months ago, and we need really another month or month and a half. But he may give it a go, but it's not going to be great, and for his arm strength. And but yeah, I mean, we're going to see our weaknesses early because we're talking about maybe 6 guys not going to go, so that means 16 starters. And some of those guys are new. Probably 6 of those guys are new. So we got to see what they can do on Friday night. We're going to see it against really good competition. They're going to exploit our weaknesses and show us what our weaknesses are. We think we know what they are, and sometimes we think something's a strength. Then you get on Friday night, and that's not your strength. And that's what good teams will tell you. And it's one of the better teams we'll play all year. There's no question. I told the team the other day in our meeting. Whether we play 16, 12, 10 games, whatever, they will definitely be one of the better teams. If not the best, who knows? But they'll be one of the better teams. And so we're looking forward to the battle. And it's going to be a great atmosphere. Maybe a little rain, a little cooler, but, we're going to play hard. And that's the main thing. We'll play hard and, keep everything the real focus. We've been 0-1 around this place, I think, 5 times now. And, 4 of those we've been champions. So we got to get better. We're going to play some guys this week. It may not play 4 or 5 weeks from now. You don't know. If they play well, they'll keep playing. But that's what preseason's for.
Says everything that you are playing, winning a state championship at the same time they're playing, and they didn't win it, but they're playing in the state championship game. There's a friend of ours in the coaching profession who might be as consummate pro as there is where the news has come out about John King battling some cancer in his mouth. He texted me, and it was a couple other guys in the media, and initially I saw it and I couldn't believe it. Your thoughts about what he runs the East Texas Coaches Association? He's been a major part of that, along with Barry got involved in that. When you hear about John King and everything's going to work for him, love him to death, fight the battle. What do you think when you hear the name John King?
Tough. I mean, that guy is tough. I mean, I'm pretty devastated over that because he and I are great friends, and and been friends a long time, and we all, me, Trailer, and King got inducted to the East Texas Coaches Association Hall of Honor the same year. And let me tell you a funny story real quick on that. Trailer's son thought I looked way younger then, put it that way, and he thought they was doing it by decades. I was the youngest guy, and then Trailer, then King was the oldest. And King's actually he's just a little younger than me, and Trailer's about a few months younger than me. We're all the same age, 57 years old, and we're just great friends. But, man, they don't get tougher and better people than John King. And I'd love to play for him. It reminds me of my high school coach, Rodney Russell. Those guys, how they win at Longview, because they run through the wall for him, and they'll do anything for him, and he'll do anything for them. And that's how he's a great coach and a great man.
It's amazing the influence of Louisiana back when Pat Collins came over. Dickie Meeks was already here, of course, God rest his soul. Outlaw, of course, had been up in Arkansas. And I know I'm missing 1 or 2 others, and that Pat brought that staff with him that included John King. And they had an influence. They kind of about that time. I mean, maybe East Texas had gotten a little bit stale, especially at the higher level. But those guys, John, et cetera, I remember when they came over and they wanted to be a part of it. They wanted a piece of Texas football to see if that would work here, and it has.
Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal coach. He's a legend. He's going to be in the Hall of Honor. And, he's tough. He's a character. He loves life. And, I'm just sad, just a horrible timing for him with his son being his last year to go in college. I don't know if there's any good timing, but this has to be brutal timing. And, man, we're praying for him. And I just texted him. I loved him. And, but anybody, hey, that guy's so tough. I think he can handle anything. I really believe that. I mean, because he's tough-minded, and it's going to be some tough times, but John King can handle it.
Yeah, I want to bring up Mike Valerie and his family, a coaching family too. Scott, love you to death, man. Good luck. I know that sometime in mid to late December, I'll see you down the road. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck as you move forward.
Yes, sir. I love you, Smoky, and I always tell you, and I really mean it. You're the best of the best, brother. See you, bro.
You too. Scott Surratt with us on Smoaky.com and the High School Football Podcast.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Baylor, Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine, Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletic, specializing in diagnosing and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries. Celebrating over 2 decades of service to Central Texas, they tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. And when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday morning for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Baylor, Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine, Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
At Sturdy Steel, we build more than grandstands and press boxes. We build the spaces where communities come together. Based in Texas and serving communities nationwide, we're proud of our reputation for dependable, high-quality work and strong client relationships that stand the test of time. From concept to installation, our team of skilled drafters, welders, and installers takes pride in delivering seating solutions designed to last. With a focus on dependability, transparency, and service, we are here to make the unique needs of architects, contractors, schools, and venues across the country. We ensure every project is seamless, sturdy, and ready for generations of fans to enjoy. That's Sturdy Steel.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Every week, we will close out the weekly high school podcast with the best games around the state each week. And this is from my great friend, Jerry Forrest, pigskinprep.com. He has an index system that ranks every team you can possibly imagine, from the smallest private schools or 6-man schools to the largest school like Allen with their huge enrollment. So here are the games. How we do this is I'm going to kind of tell you, there's columns. The column that says Jerry's picks on the left, if you see a number, a black number next to the team, they're favored based on its index by, for example, Carthage is a 6-point favorite against Kilgore. If it's on the right side, that team is favored, and it's about split down the middle. And then if you look at the ranked totals, you might have a 5A team playing 6A or 4A playing 5A, whatever. The totals is the state ranking based on his index of every school. It's ridiculous. And the number for Carthage and Kilgore total is 4, because both of them played in the state championship game last year. Carthage won it, as we just mentioned, with Scott Surratt. Kilgore and Clint Fuller played for it, lost to Salina. They were really, really good. But that 4 means that their combined ranking in the index is 4. These are all great games. North Shore will play South Oak Cliff. South Oak Cliff, Coach Todd's not afraid to play anybody. And they might lose 2 or 3 games and still go and play for or win a state championship. Belleville and Salina, what a great game that is. Last year, Salina won that game. They were pound for pound as good as anybody, and they're used to that, 49-30. Gunner beat Houston Kincaid last year, 23-14. They're about to play again. Wascom and Garrison, a couple of really good 2A schools in Deep East Texas. Garrison won that game by a point in 21-20. Then you have Frisco Lone Star with a game against Fort Worth All Saints Episcopal against Dallas Parish Episcopal. Lone Star and Argyle, that's a great game. Stanford hammered Albany last year, and they'll play again, but it's still a high-ranked game. It's a pick'em game, according to Jerry and Pigskin Prep. Lexington with Case Evans, their quarterback, committed to play at Oklahoma State. They'll play against Marlin on the road. You have Oglesby and Abbott, two really good six-man teams. Coach Crawford's son now, of course, Terry was there for the longest of time. His son now coaching that team. Oglesby has been really good the last couple of years. Liberty Christian with Jason Witten, their head coach, playing at Anna. Cuero, the Gobblers, play at Columbus, who won it all last year, with Schobel, the head coach. Also, you have Oakwood and Union Hill. That's a pick'em game in six-man. Geyer and Aledo. Yep, that's a banger. That's a banger. Geyer won that game last year. Of course, I mentioned Aledo has those 12 state championships. Then Ganado and Van Vleck. Ganado's the one that ended Refugio's run early last year in the third round. And then Stephenville. Yep, Stephenville and the history of what they do. I talked to Connolly football coach Terry Garrick earlier, about 2 weeks ago. They scrimmaged Stephenville. He said, my God, they're really good. They're big, and he said they're good. They hammered Midlothian Heritage last year, 38-3. Coach Doty, of course, Joe Gillespie, who is the head coach at Midway, Art Briles, and the history of Stephenville and the Yellow Jackets. So those are the games, the best, highest ranked games of the week in week one, thanks to pigskinprep.com. Garrett Ross, thank you very much. Thanks to our great sponsors for what they do to bring this show to you every week. You see their different graphics on the screen. And then, of course, you see Peter Chevrolet. Randy Peters, I've known Randy for a long time. Long time. And a great supporter of not just Longview football, but high school football in Texas and throughout, of course, the East Texas area with the Lobos. Thanks to Andrew Valade, who's going to put this up and help me get this in front of more people every week if we can. I'm David Smoak. Have a great week number one. This is the Texas High School Football Statewide Podcast.